Welcome, everybody, to AmeriCanaries podcast number 16. And I'm privileged to be joined by Megan Todd, an actual real live Norwich City, footballer for the women's team. And Megan also spent some time in the United States, on playing for college and a couple colleges in California. So I'm very much looking forward to this podcast here. I don't know if we're going to be joined by other members from the AmeriCanaries crew. If we are joined, I will let them in and introduce them. So, welcome, Megan. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
No, thank you for having me. That's a nice intro.
Sure. I
Yeah,
try. I try,
very good intro.
yeah, I try. So Megan and I, we traded information back and forth. So we have topics and um, questions for her. And the last one is something that we're adding a brand new question. Then we're going back to some of the previous guests and asking them the same questions. So when we get to that, you'll hear what the question is, and hopefully you have a good answer for that.
Yeah,
The,
I have
the last
seen
one.
it. I have been thinking about it. I have a few, so I'm not. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, cool. So the topics we're going to talk about today is the club and how how they've been doing, how you've been doing, some interesting stuff about that. The big news about the parent club integrating into the women's team and what changes might occur with that. Your role as the Girls and Women's Football Development Manager for the Community Sports Foundation. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Um, Experience at both the Cal State University schools, and then I'm going to ask some things differences. If you spent 4.5 years in the U.S. and differences between the U.S. and Canada. So we've had we've had David Lamb, who is in Toronto. So he's
Mhm.
a Norwich native, and he's had some differences. And we had a guy named Matt Roberts who was on. He attended when they did the Fan Fest at the LA Coliseum. So he attended
Okay.
they had to be like, God, more than it was 4:30 when the match went off. It was Norwich versus Chelsea, so it had to be like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I was
Yeah.
like, that's just lunacy. All right. So how's the season been going?
That's a good question. I think an up and down season is how I'd describe it. We probably should be doing better than where we actually currently are in the table, but there's still quite a few games to go. So yeah, we know we're probably underperforming, but we've had games where we've done excellent, and then there's games we haven't done so good. So for us, it's just finding consistency and looking to get results every game, and making sure we're consistent in what we do because we've got a good enough squad,
Mhm.
but we're just not consistent. So yeah, I think that's the season I can sum up at the moment. If you asked me last week after a win, I'd be like brilliant, but obviously we come back off the back of a loss on Sunday, so yeah, it's just back to it and yeah, finding that consistency.
Last week, did you have a goal and an assist? Am I right?
Yeah, I think that was last weekend. Yeah,
The
I
previous
haven't I
weekend.
haven't scored in a while, so it's quite nice to get a couple goals back to back. Um,
There you go.
yeah, so just needed that little boost, but yeah, it was definitely nice to get a goal. I think it was against Enfield. It was a game we had to win, or we had a bit of trouble in where we were in the league table, and we dug deep, and the team got a result. So yeah, it was also a nice feeling to get a goal and a couple of assists too.
So you play as a forward, right?
Yeah, I play either out wide, um, predominantly out wide in the front three. I have done a little bit of a cameo in centre mid a few times when we've been a bit short on players, but no, I'm definitely a winger. I need space in front of me. I need to just run with it. I like to say I'm quite quick, so yeah, give me
Okay.
space. That's me happy.
Okay. Megan Todd, Norwich City Women's answer for Darren Huckerby, right?
I saw someone on Twitter commented that. It did make me laugh. I used to watch him growing up as well. So, yeah, that did make me laugh.
Well, good. It's always an important position.
Yeah.
When I'm watching that, it always seems like that's one of the most exciting players, the players who's on the wing, who has a lot of speed and who is creative.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
which is
just enjoy attacking. That's me.
there you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, what are some of the areas the team is hoping to improve on other than obviously the place in the standings?
I think there's going to obviously be, we're quite a young squad. We've got quite a mixed in ages. I think, the senior players that they're considered 2021, which is still quite young in, women's football at least. And for us, I think this season is to build us a good base going into next season as well. There's a lot of changes coming in, like we'll probably speak about in a little while.
Hmm.
Um, for us, it's just ensuring we get better every week, um, and it's yeah, like I said, obviously we want to improve where we are on the table, but we've got to improve working together. I think it's still different players playing alongside each other, so just getting to know each other as a team still. Um, but yeah, there are some really really talented players, and it's just trying to connect all the pieces. And I believe it'll just click. We're just waiting for it to click, and then we'll be on a bit of a flow. But in this league, you're off at one game. Result you lose a game, and that's how harsh this league can be sometimes.
Oh, just like the Premier League.
Yeah,
Hey, Norwich is 16th. Not for long.
yeah, it changes every week. So yeah, especially well, hopefully we're in a better position than the men's team in terms of the table. But there's still the men's team have got tons of games left anyway. So it's so up and down in
Uh,
that league.
yeah, and I think maybe only two against top six remaining.
Exactly, and a couple of wins, and they could be out of the relegation zone. So that's how we're kind of looking at it as well.
Yep. Now, how often does the team train?
At the moment, we train once a week. I think that's kind of like a surprise because obviously when I was at the States, I think I trained like 4 or 5 times a week. But obviously, a lot of the girls have full-time jobs.
Hmm.
Um, they go to college and university, so they do a lot of training outside of that. I run the girls' college program here as well. So a lot of the girls who train for the women's as well will train with me on a Monday and a Friday, play another game. So there's a lot of training outside, but yeah, we train once a week. It's just the nature of women's football. Still a bit low. Like we have full time jobs outside of it, but a lot of girls do a lot of stuff in their own time as well. So
So is that hampering your ability to sort of work as a team? You're only really training once a
um,
week.
could say we I think going forward we'll probably increase how often we train. Um, it's just hard, like I said, with full time jobs, people's schedules, it's very
Hmm.
rare to get everyone free, let alone on one night a week. So, we try and do as much kind of things outside of football as well. But a lot of us, we know how football works and we know what we need to do. It's
Hmm.
just ensuring, we deliver that on the pitch as well.
Is it always the same day that you train?
Yeah, same day, same evening every week. So that's a consistency in that. So yeah, we the sessions are more based on how we're going to play and more tactical and kind of the fitness elements and your technical side. That's kind of your ownership to do outside of training because that time is the time that we have with the team.
Hmm. Which is vastly different than what you get from, the parent club or,
Mm,
any any of the larger clubs around the world.
yeah,
Because I saw, was it Amazon Prime had the series on Tottenham, like when Jose Mourinho came in, and it was really interesting to see the whole process that they go through for the training. Of course, you get it for Norwich, they'll show the training, but that's not a whole series where they have complete access to everything going on. It was interesting seeing
yeah,
the entire process was all enclosed in their training center, everything that they went through, and you don't have that yet. But
yeah. That's kind of like obviously. I'm sure that's a question coming later. Obviously, with the transition now
mhm,
being part of the main club, that those changes will take effect next season, and you'll see in the women's game in the Women's Super League, which is like the Premiership for the women's, and then you've
Mhm,
got the Championship. Most of those are full time and training full time, and it's just that's how the women's game is growing here. Um, Teams lower down are now kind of expanding and looking to kind of expand in all areas, and I think it is a really exciting time. Um, but there's a lot of work to be done. We've got to make sure we stay up in this league, and we've got to ensure we put results in because we want to do well for the club, and we want to be a part of all the changes going forward.
mhm. Yeah, I know I've told many people, it's like, "Oh, okay, well, Norwich is struggling." Says, "Well, it's because they took an approach that's very different than they have had in the past, where they're just focusing on the first team to the detriment of some of the training and some of the other aspects. They took a more holistic approach at everything, building the nest and building Colney and basically making it the club as a whole, not
Hmm.
just the team you see,
Yeah,
in the Premier League. So because of that, I think the club is in a far better position. And clearly, someone said, "Hey, we have the women's team. Why shouldn't they be a part of what we're doing?" So
yeah,
I
I think
certainly applaud that decision.
yeah, definitely, and I think the important thing is there's girls who've been part of Norwich lot longer than I have, and working at the club still, and it's making sure they did it at the right time.
Hmm.
They could have easy not easy done it, but they might not have been in the best position to support. And I mean, you might have seen in around here, unfortunately, women's teams have kind of fallen apart because the men's team can no longer, or the main club can no longer support them financially because they weren't in the best place when
Hmm.
they so everything has fallen into place, and things do take time. It's
Hmm.
ensuring that everything's done properly, and I think a lot of people say, oh, it's the right time, it's long overdue. I think it's not that, it's ensuring that they're the best they can be in their place to support us, to give us the best possible chance. And yeah, we appreciate a lot. They've done loads for us already. And yeah, it's really exciting to see um, how much, what's happening next, really.
Yeah, we're jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
that's
Let
okay.
me answer
That's
those.
that's okay. It's the topics that we have here. Um, so here we go. So as you know, Megan is one of the four players that we're proud to sponsor with the AmeriCanaries. So it's Megan, Anna Larkins, Kate Parsons, and Samara. I'm going to guess the last name, Enchi. Is that right?
I don't even know how to say her last name.
Oh,
I
because
can't
there's
even come.
it's Nche, and I was
You're asking the person that has the worst pronunciation on words and names. Like, that's just not I just say Samara, that's the easiest way.
okay. So how the sponsorship, how does that positively affect you? What are the benefits that
It
you get out of that?
it's a huge benefit. I think the first thing is just firstly, thank you for your support because,
Yeah. Well,
we've
on behalf of myself and everyone else who contributed,
yeah,
there was quite a few people. You're
ex
very welcome. We're very happy to do it.
yeah, I think it just shows appreciation that are people out there supporting us and backing us, so getting exposure on social media, the support that you give them to the club. And yeah, I think having it's nice knowing to have that backing behind you and that people out there want to be a part of it and they want to help and they want to sponsor and they want to be part of your development and how the team are getting on. So yeah, I think, and especially across the other side of the world, I think it's massive to go, God, there's people out there that actually want to help and support us. So no, we really do appreciate it, and it's just nice to know that we've got that backing. And yeah, like I said again, thank you to all of you who have
Yeah.
supported us and sponsored
Yeah.
us.
I you're very welcome, and I hope everyone else is listening.
Yeah.
Say you're very welcome. Yeah, that was something that Mark Foster put together. It's like, hey, guess what? Do you know the women's team is looking for sponsors for things? And he shared it. Says, whoa, that's kind of reasonable. We can do this. Let's see how many, what people want to, put in. So we
Yeah.
got a lot of money coming in, and then at the end. myself, Mark, and a couple other people, put in their contributions to top it off. And I think we actually had a little bit left over. I believe Mark told me that went to the Syrian T-shirt,
Oh, nice.
the
Yeah.
Syrian campaign because it wasn't so. A late donation came in, so we did
No,
that.
that's very good. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So, but we'll be curious. Apparently, a discussion tomorrow. Because Mark is on the he's sort of on the board of the Canaries Trust. With a lot of us
Yeah.
belong to, and our friend Robin Sainty and quite a the other people there. Apparently, they're having a meeting tomorrow, and part of the discussion is going to be uh, how our sponsorship's going to work next year. Is there going to be a need for the same sort of sponsorship level that we had, or is it going to be something different? If it's going to be integrated into a larger club, does that mean there's less of a need for sponsorships, or is it a sponsorship at a different type of a level? We're interested because I think many of us were very happy to sponsor, and it's like, oh, look, one of the players we sponsored is doing well. That's great. You'll see me. I'm tweeting. With that. It's because it's like I want to people know, yes, we're doing well, and to get recognition, for the team that's out there and playing. I know the Canaries Trust. I think they sponsor one player, and then I think
Mhm.
they're actually a games. Were they the game sponsor this past
Yeah,
Sunday?
they were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier. They can just go over and give them money. We just can't. So they have a little more money. They're able to write a check a little quicker than we are to Venmo money. I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. That's kind of nice. Um, so that helps a lot. Um, for the sure, let's get that. Okay, here we go. Secret skill or bit of knowledge none of your teammates know you have.
That's a very good question because those listening probably know I don't have many, but I like to think a skill I have is I'm actually an okay cook. Like I can cook okay, which I think surprises some people when I say that. So that's my skill is I think I can actually cook up some good dishes.
All right, give me three meals that you would cook up to like this show. Hey, look, I'm a good cook. Let me here are three meals, three things that I'm going to make for you.
I think this goes back from obviously being in the States. Burritos,
There you
I
go.
love them. I think I took a lot from my friends, so that's definitely one. Um, Pasta dishes, anything pasta based, I'm
Hmm.
very good at. I eat pasta like every day, pretty much. And I think a good breakfast. Um, Goes probably back to burritos, but yeah, a fry up. Yeah, I'm. But I think pasta's my speciality, I'd say, and yeah, burritos. I think a lot of my roommates were Mexican, so
Hmm.
yeah, I took a lot of ideas from them.
Did you ever see them make a breakfast burrito from scratch?
Yeah, I can't do it that good as them. I'm definitely not that level, but yeah, I try and copy a lot of what they done. But yeah, I think that's what got me into spicy food as well. I didn't have the biggest like spice, but I have to put
Hmm.
hot sauce still on everything I eat here nearly. That's what's taken with me. But yeah, yeah, I enjoy cooking too, and it just kind of relaxes me as
Hmm.
well. I think I
Do your
do work
teammates ever go,
late.
what is Megan, putting why is she putting this red sauce on everything? What's up with that?
Yeah, but when I was out there, I'd cook them like a roast dinner. So they had a roast dinner once that was nice, and toad in a hole, which is sausages and Yorkshire puddings. So I did try and also, cook to my friends in the States as well, some English dishes that I liked. Yeah.
You didn't give them like the full English breakfast. I've seen that on occasion. I'm like, oh God, like I would be so ill. I would have such stomach distress from eating that.
Well, I see what goes in breakfast burritos, so I feel like they can cope with a fry up, definitely. I've seen some of the stuff. Yeah, but all good stuff. Very tasty.
Yeah, breakfast burritos are good. I lived in Albuquerque for about
Hmm.
10 months. Breakfast burritos were there, and green chile. That there's
Okay.
a county or is a town in New Mexico called Hatch, like uh, hatching an egg or whatever, and it's called Hatch chiles. And
Okay.
when my wife and I first got there, they were actually roasting them outside. You could like pull up to a gas station and buy fresh roasted chiles at a gas station. It
Mm.
was sort of like a big metal container that they would just, the fire's there and they're roasting it. They're turning this big metal ball almost like bingo. If you, I'm sure you've
Yeah.
seen bingo. All right, we're going to turn the balls around and pick the ball out. It was like a big bingo bin, but there. I said, "What is with the line?" At a gas station. It's like, "Oh, they're buying freshly roasted chilies at the gas station." That was just I
Yeah.
I guess it's just easy. So, we developed a taste for that and seeing some of the breakfast burritos and the New Mexican food is different. It's not necessarily Mexican. So
Yeah.
it's different, but it's close. Like I was surprised that Taco Bell existed there and did well. I thought that they wouldn't. I thought, why would I eat at Taco Bell? We can make our food better. I thought they would look down at Taco Bell and go, ah, who wants to, who wants to eat here? Like
Yeah.
where I am at Maryland, there's a chain of Red Lobster, which you're probably familiar with.
Hmm.
I've never eaten at a Red Lobster. Well, I ate ages ago, but there's one here. I'm not going to go because it's it's sort of like a downgrade of how you make seafood dishes from what it should be. So I was kind of surprised that Taco Bell, was relatively popular, and they had this at the time. It was a campaign, like I forgot what it was, like 49, 69, 89 for like how many tacos, like one, two, or three, and in Mexico it was 10 cents cheaper. I said, oh, this is interesting. So that
Yeah.
was interesting. Okay. Any funny pranks that are pulled in training, like is the big joker.
Um, I wouldn't say pranks. I feel like we just enjoy kind of winding each other up. So like just getting people to like bite back on a comment. Like we just love to like have a laugh at each other. All good stuff. So not pranks and that. We just like to wind each other up. Um, so it's all good fun. Yeah. I said,
So
who's sorry, go on.
a lot of healthy banter, a lot of
Yeah, all
yeah,
good banter. Yeah,
good,
we have a laugh and yeah, we just yeah, we just like to wind each other up, but it's all good stuff. All good stuff.
good,
But yeah, we're
good,
not really prankers.
good. All right. Who's the most serious on the team?
I was thinking about this one and because I would say I actually would go, who's the most serious?
Like someone's like, all right, enough of the joking. Come on, we got to work on cone drills, or we got to work on this. Let's go.
I
Stop it
feel like
already.
that's Sean probably. The coach is probably the most serious. I think that's the one when he has to tell us to kind of rein it in. So yeah, I'd probably say Sean can be the most serious at times,
Okay, Sean,
definitely.
you're in record. You need to lighten up, Sean. You need to lighten up. And there's no one like who's like a big jokes or someone who's always coming in with one-liners or
I like to think that's probably me, but
you. Ah,
I
there you
don't
go.
know if they'd all agree. But I think, yeah, I feel like to say I'm definitely the Joker. I like to have a laugh and make funny comments. Sometimes I don't know if they're laughing at me or with me, but yeah, I think, yeah, I
Did
say myself, maybe, yeah.
did you pick any of the humor up when you were in California, like things that were said differently or how discussions went? And it's like, well, where's that come from, Megan? Like, uh-huh.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I think I got told, like, obviously British humor is quite dry and quite could be harsh sometimes, and that's just how we are. So, but then a lot of my friends and time I spent with my family kind of had similar humor, so that's why I got on quite well. And some humor I just didn't get out there. I didn't understand why it was funny, but that's why I kind of had my friends and family, like friends out there
Mhm.
who kind of had a bit of a similar humor to me. So yeah, I kind of stuck with them that know would laugh and find it funny, and those I'd be like, oh, they don't think that's funny. So
Well, sometimes if you're not aware of the cultural reference,
yeah,
yeah,
um,
it would be, "Huh? Why is that funny?" You know, if maybe something is like, "Oh, okay." Let's say you're there in your freshman, your sophomore year, and they're joking about some cultural reference that happened 10 years ago that you really aren't aware of. You're like, "Why is that funny?" You
yeah,
know, it's
yeah. There was just some things I just went over my head. Really, I was like, okay, yeah, don't really get it, but okay.
I'll be of anything. All right, let's get on to the big news that we sort of teased. The parent club integrating. So I even have the up here. You know, it's on the website. Club announced full integration of Norwich City Women. It was 4 days ago. So it was like Zoe Ward was quoted. Let's see who else is in here. Ian Thornton, is that one of your bosses?
Yeah, he's the CEO at the Community
Okay.
Sports Foundation.
So what do you know about this, and how do you think this is going to affect you and the team, hopefully positively?
Yeah, it's all going to be positive. So, the women's team has ran for quite a long time, and it's always been close with the club. And then over the last few years, it's got closer due to I think Zoe's been a massive part of it. Ian's worked really hard as well to get us involved and to kind of promote. And it was kind of the women's game is growing here.
Mhm,
It's getting bigger, and if you got to kind of keep with what's going. And I think a lot of the coaches and the staff here are actually volunteers. That they're not paid; they still have a full-time job, and
mhm,
it was getting to the point where it was too much for volunteers to do because it was growing, it was becoming more of a job. So that will really support in terms of staffing and coaches. Um, we have a brilliant facility, the Nest, that was built. Well, the 3G was built just under a year ago, just over a year ago, which is kind of now our home. So we've got a home
mhm.
where also our youth girls train as well. So in terms of kind of positive steps, it's going to be, yeah. There's a lot of people don't really understand the differences, but if you're a lot behind the scenes, it makes life a lot easier. It kind of has a clearer vision, and a bit more of a backbone and support with the club and kind of their knowledge and what they can do to support us going forward and hopefully help us, you know, grow in all aspects. And then it's up to us to, deliver on the pitch.
Interesting. Yeah, I hope there's a lot of positive aspects. Have they talked about having the women train at Colney or train with the men's team? Has there been any talk about joint training?
Um, a lot of that is still, probably a lot behind the scenes that I don't even get to hear about. So there will be probably more of changes into next season because there's only kind of a few months left of this season. So a
Mhm.
lot of
Right.
effect will probably, take place going into the new season. So that will be their planning. But, where we train at the Nest is, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a really, really good
Oh, it
facility.
looks phenomenal. The pictures
Um,
and the video I've seen, it
yeah.
looks really, really top class.
um, which is probably better than some training grounds that men's team have in other leagues. So that's how lucky we are.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm sure they've got lots of ideas, and everything will be progressed in the right way, and ensuring that it's not a rush to quickly do it. That everything will be done properly, and yeah, I think there'll be loads of opportunities. There'll probably be more exposure of us and us out there, but yeah, like I said, it's just going to be a lot more kind of support around the club
Mhm.
and off the pitch as well. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it. But our main focus is ensuring we get this season done,
Right.
to ensure we're in a good place going into next season.
That's yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
It's like um, Norwich having to go to the Anfield again. I was like, "Hey, can we have like Jonathan Tompkinson play? Can he make the first team this time? Because we actually talked to he's the captain of the under-23s.
Mhm.
I don't know, have you ever met him?
No, I don't think so, actually.
Yeah, he's captain of the under-23s, and his mom and his parents are both in Texas. His dad actually is from Suffolk originally, so his
Okay.
English dad, uh, American mom, and they both were previous guests on the podcast. So it was really
Okay.
interesting hearing their perspective of how process went through in developing, and his mom is not your typical like soccer mom. She knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
This is so, she's an athlete in her own right and really understood the whole process of what needed to go in to build a top flight athlete and where they needed to go and why. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm sure he's done well. But it's interesting that to have learned that aspect of how he got there. And it's an interesting story because originally he was training with that team down south, and then a scout moved to Norwich, and then he uh, came back. And speaking of the team down south, um, I was mentioned before we got on the class I'm taking. There's people from all around the world. There's a couple people from England. So there's one guy named Ed. Okay, Ed, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Ipswich. I'm like, really? Really? So I told him, says, "Well, I host a podcast," and then we were joking. He says, "I'm not going to hold that against you, Ed. We'll work together." It was just kind of funny, like the inside joke and
Yeah.
stuff. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's what you're doing." He says, "We'll make pretend I didn't hear that. That's fine." And so that was kind of interesting. So you mentioned the finances. So I'm assuming only a couple people at the club really get paid, and do you assume now that more will actually be getting a salary
No,
because of this
so
integration?
everyone's a volunteer at the club. So in terms of the women's team before they're volunteers, so they give up their time
Hmm.
to be a part of it. So no one's paid at the women's team. It's all volunteer basis. So like I said, all the support that you guys have given up it's brilliant because it helps us, with the little bits that we need to, transport and all that. So
Hmm.
yeah, in terms of obviously the club I work for, obviously that's my full-time job. So yeah, I don't know what will happen in terms of that, but for us and especially those who have played for a long time, we do it because we love playing. It's not about that kind of side really for us. Obviously, it's nice, but I play because I love it, and that's what many of the girls give up their
Hmm.
time and evenings to do.
Right. Well, I was hoping that some of the staff, like the manager, okay, if he's
No,
volunteering,
he's
he might
volunteer.
he might go, "Oh, Sean, well, now that we have money, we're integration, we wanna be able to pay you something for doing that." I'm just curious if that's part of what's gonna come out from it
Oh,
yeah.
I wish I could give you more. I actually don't know. That's a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah, I don't know. There's
business
lots of right.
sides. Yeah, they're not gonna ask me, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, that's why I give a lot, of credit to those that, the coaches and managers that do because it is in their own time, and obviously Sean's not the only person across the leagues. There's
Mhm,
a lot of people that dedicate a lot of time to football and weekends and giving up evenings, and I think just shows how brilliant football is and how much people love it because so many people here just give up their time to do it because they love it, and I think that's what's so like I said, brilliant about football
outstanding.
or
S
soccer, as we call it.
I know. It's when I tell people sometimes I go football, have the Spanish pronunciation or whatever. Yeah, there's lots of terms that I had to understand and learn when I first started really getting into it.
Yeah.
Like, every once in a while, what is that term mean?
Yeah,
But
there's a few terms out there, and I was a bit like, I don't know what that means.
but even when they talk, because lots of the announcers are English,
Mhm.
who are doing the game. Like Ian Dark did a lot of the U.S. men's games. He's an outstanding announcer, and whenever a team's having trouble with their defense, he always goes, "They're all sixes and sevens at the back." Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right. So, do you know what is that reference? If he says they're all sixes and sevens at the back, do you know what that's in reference?
I'm roughly kind of rating them, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Yeah,
There's
I'm.
some terms that like people just say, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to assume that's their rating out of what they're doing. But there's
Yeah,
like there were
that
terms in America that people were using, and I was like, I don't like. I think it was like pennies, which is
mhm.
bibs, and I was like, what? It's a bibs, football bib, not a penny. Um,
Really?
yeah,
That's a
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think the one that
Pennies to
always,
me are the 1 cent coins.
yeah, and then cleats.
Yes,
They're football boots. So, yeah, like,
yes, cleats, or I can't go with the other term, spikes, or whatever.
yeah,
The shoes that you're going to wear. Yeah,
yeah,
cleats. Versus boots. That's an interesting. It's like,
yeah,
oh, they have the boot. Like,
yeah,
boot? Like a hiking boot, a snow boot, or something. I
yeah,
know boots are used for car trunks. Here in the back of the car, it's
mhm,
a trunk. That I learned, but cleats and spikes. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Didn't get
Uh,
that one, but
cleats almost refer more to the bottom of the shoe as opposed to the whole
mm,
shoe. Yeah.
yeah, I had to adapt what I was saying so people could kind of
Oh
understand
yeah,
in
there's all
the
sorts of stuff that'll be later on, like the differences.
end.
Like, it's English, but we're speaking different languages.
Yeah.
What does that mean? People are like, what are you talking about? And certain terms make sense. Oh, I'm going to take the lift to the fourth floor. All right, that makes sense. I can figure some of the terms out, but what lorry? What's a lorry? Lorry's like a name of a girl. That's like a girl's name. Oh no, that's a truck. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's certain terms that are just, yeah, even though it's English, different things. But sixes and sevens, he would say that there's some other terminology that I had to learn,
Mhm.
early on, that to understand. I think I know now, because when I go on the Premier League fan zone, I speak intelligently. They're not kind of that's silly American. He still calls it soccer, or so understand. And it took me a while when the score here in the United States. You being here for a while, when they show the score on TV, the home team is always on the right or on the bottom of the score line, versus in football, soccer, it's reversed. The
Mhm.
home team is on the left or on the top. And it
Yeah.
took me probably a year and a half to get used to
Yeah.
that. And still, when I'm watching, something else, because right now we're heavily into college basketball season, every once in a while I'll get confused, especially if the home team they're not wearing white, they're wearing their
Mm.
whatever color jersey sometimes. And if you don't really see the basketball court, who's really the home team? So it's interesting. My mind is so used to
Yeah.
seeing that. Um, One thing I would really love, if the club's being integrated, is if somehow one of your games is actually at Carrow Road at some time in the future.
Yeah, I think that's what we'd hope to as well. Um, so yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed that will happen. Um,
That
definitely,
would be
yeah.
nice, yeah, if they can work it out, probably, um, during a schedule when maybe, the big club has 2 road
Mhm.
games or something
Yeah.
in a row.
Yeah, we'd love to, and I'm sure that's something that they've thought about. So yeah, fingers crossed that will happen.
Hope so. Maybe we can send lots of tweets to encourage them to do that. So that's first one. Well, why can't they, bring the club there? And, speaking of, so this Sunday, was there 1 game or 2 games at Carrow Road with women's teams?
The for the international the international games, the
Mhm.
women's, it was 2 games. So
So
England played at the afternoon, and then Canada, I can't remember who they played. Germany, that was an evening game. Yeah, so they had 2 games. So I'm sure that pitch was a bit torn up because it absolutely
Yeah.
chucked it down with rain in the afternoon.
Canada's very good.
Yeah,
I mean, they're rivaling the US team
they
with quality on this side of the pond,
yeah, they
but also
trained where
internationally.
they trained at our facility,
Oh, really?
where we trained. So yeah, that was really cool to see. I think some people got to meet them. So yeah, they trained at where we
But
trained.
you didn't?
No, we weren't there, unfortunately. It was quite quiet until obviously after they had trained, and then obviously there was some social stuff that went out. I don't think they
Oh,
wanted anyone to know where they
it
were.
was like a behind the closed
Yeah,
door training thing. Well, that's kinda nice if they said, "Hey, let's train locally," and they knew that your facility was, good enough
yeah,
to host them. And so they've gotten a lot, better with their
yeah.
quality. Of course, Christine Sinclair is phenomenal,
Mhm.
but even the men's team is now really getting really, really good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the men's team, so that's pretty cool. That's an interesting factoid, like the closed door behind
Mhm.
door training. I know here in the US, I think a couple summers ago, Southampton did a tour of the US and they
Okay.
trained at University of Maryland,
Oh, nice.
where
Yeah.
they did. And I was like, what? They trained there, and I think they trained somewhere in Baltimore. I believe that was like Nathan Redmond's first year with the team,
Yeah, okay.
whenever that was. So
Yeah.
the sort of like behind the closed door training stuff is always, kind of interesting.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be nice if somehow it's like, hey, come out and support the women and the Norwich women's team versus, you know, who, whoever,
Yeah.
whoever, and fit it in. That would be, really, yeah, really excellent. And you would hope they were going to get 25K that come in.
Yeah, hopefully big crowd.
25K to come in, and it won't be the full price. I mean, honestly, if they would do that, eh, w- what would be great? Okay, there's lots of people with season tickets,
Mhm.
and so I know, when events are held here for season ticket holders, that the season ticket holders get like the first dibs. It would be great if, okay, the women's team is going to be playing, on this day. Hopefully, it's more than one. That all the season ticket holders get first dibs. Oh yeah, I want to, go in there and pay, whatever. I
Yeah.
don't know whatever the price is, and I'm sure they'll go, oh yeah, it's cheaper than I pay. Sure, I'll go support them. So hopefully, that's something
Yeah.
that'll happen.
Hopefully, yeah.
You can say, Ken wants you to do it. Ken said that would be, kind of a cool thing to have happen. Because I know that happens a lot. Like today, I've run into a lot of frustration. So Paul McCartney, it's a horrible Paul McCartney accent. Yeah, he's playing a concert at the Baltimore Orioles baseball stadium. So
Okay.
the pre-sale happened today. I can't get tickets no matter what. Season ticket holder, even American Express. I think they said that, it's better if you put in like for two tickets, you get better. But I'm a family of four, so I'm not going to have two, in one section and two in another section, and says. So I'm gonna wind up having to go in the StubHub and the aftermarket to get it. I was like, come on, there's two opportunities for me to get in, and I can't get anything. So it's okay, forget it. We'll get in eventually. And Billy Joel was in concert before, and
Mm.
then early on when the, ballpark opened, the Pope was there. The Pope
Okay.
actually, yeah, the Pope. So it says, well, okay, who will be the most famous person uh, perf- uh, to I don't know, be in stage in front of an audience at the ballpark's Camden Yards? And it says, well, the Pope might be a little more well known than Paul McCartney, but not so sure about that. So we had, but yeah, I'm hoping that there's something like that where the season ticket holders are given first dibs to do it, and that the price is, reasonable enough. Because you don't want them to come in for free. You want
Yeah.
you want to have something going on. So that would be great if that's one of the benefits of
Mm.
that. So I'm sure, that'll be developing, and hopefully. Good one. So let's talk about your real job. What you what you get paid to do. So the title, and it's on the website. Girls and Women's Football Development Manager for the Community Sports Foundation. So what is it that you do, and then
Yeah.
what's a normal day or couple days entail for you?
I definitely don't just have a normal set day. My days are very changed. But so my role is obviously you've got the main football club, and then on the kind of side that is the Community Sports Foundation,
Hmm.
which is the kind of charity side. So most football clubs in England have a community set up.
Hmm.
We have a very large community set up. I previously actually worked at Cambridge United before that, um, doing the same job, which was a much smaller club. They were League Two at the time. So, in going to Norwich, obviously where I'm from, and working with their massive, in terms of staffing and everything. So, I oversee the girls program. So, from under 18s to under 8s, from your top tier, which is your academy, then you've got your middle tier, which is elite, and then your third tier, which is PDC. So we have around 280 girls in the program. So very busy, as you can imagine. And then we also have a college program with about 28 girls that I'm responsible for. So I work alongside Summer, who also plays for the women's team as well. She was part of the program, very young, gone through the whole
Hmm.
kind of pathway. So the typical day changes every day. Obviously, I work a lot of evenings with the academy to ensure obviously everything's running well. The
Hmm.
coaches are obviously delivering the sessions, working with players, individual development, help make sure they're okay off the pitch. A lot of my daytime is taken up by the college students. Um, Wednesdays is match day. So we're off to a match tomorrow in London, and they train in the daytime. So yeah, it varies. Problem solving, dealing with coaches, like I said, ensuring obviously everything's run well, and just developing more opportunities for females and girls to kind of strive. We've had a few girls gone off to play professionally. So
So
and
where?
with a couple of girls go to Bristol,
Okay.
and Lauren Hemp, who plays for Man City in England, she was she's from North Walsham, Norwich. She was actually part of the program before my time, but yeah, she was probably the biggest name to come from our program. So yeah, we're very proud of our program, and it's good quality players. But
Hmm.
we also provide career pathways for girls to get into coaching, media, university. I had a few girls go off to the States. So yeah,
Other than you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it. Um, it can be very busy at times, but yeah, we fully enjoy what we do. I know I do.
It
I love
sounds a lot.
it's a lot, yeah, and provide that link also with the women's team. So I
Hmm.
help transition the girls into senior football. It's quite a big jump, so we transition those, the college students or those who just turned 16, progressing into the senior team or into other routes if it's not the right route for them. So yeah, lots of different aspects, but yeah, I think that's what I enjoy the most. It's never
That
just
sounds
this,
very,
yeah,
very fulfilling and a very busy. I mean,
yeah,
it's a
um,
lot of skill areas that you have to come up with, and
yeah,
lots of different players. That's a very important job. So, how
yeah.
long have you been in that job?
So I've worked at Norwich for just over 3 years. I was at Cambridge United previously for
Hmm.
2 years. I set up the girls program there, but that was a great experience because Cambridge United are a League Two club, so you've got obviously the Premiership, Championship, League One, and League
Hmm.
Two.
Right.
Um, so West Houlihan plays there now.
As
He's
yeah,
there.
we're aware.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
he's doing well. Yeah.
it was just learning from club that doesn't have loads of money and lots of kind of resources, how they ran their club, and I really enjoyed my time there. I learned a lot, um, and then yeah, I wanted to obviously be part of Norwich because this is where I grew up, and
Hmm.
wanted to provide opportunity for girls, and that was just coming off the back of obviously coming from the States. So come back from the States, literally jumped into Cambridge United, and then kind of progressed into Norwich here.
Awesome. All right, since you mentioned the States, you've been here. You've
Yeah.
been here. Yeah, so you played for Cal State Bakersfield and
Hmm.
then Cal State San Bernardino. You mentioned that you had a nasty injury.
Yeah, so I've actually done both of my ACLs now. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so I did my first ACL end of my sophomore year, um, in my last spring game. So the timing of that. But yeah, so I was out there, and then obviously we had a different coach come in at the time, and obviously he would obviously want to bring his own players in. So um, I kind of pretty much got released. Um, and then I moved kind of my friend to San Bernardino, which was a challenge because I was thinking, who wants a senior recovering from an ACL injury from
Hmm.
England, who's probably going to cost a lot of money? Um, but no, San Bernardino brought me in, and it was brilliant. And I did a couple extra years because I had my red shirt year, which I decided
Hmm.
to play. Um, yeah, it was a brilliant experience. I loved every minute of it. Um, I've still got very good friends
Good.
who I still speak to every week. That's how important it was. Yeah, a big part of my life, which yeah, I highly recommend it when
So,
any of the girls ask me.
so how did you wind up? What's it, the first part, like the recruiting process? How did you wind up coming from Norwich to
Hmm.
playing in California in the soccer and for college? How's that work?
So I just college day for me. I saw kind of a flyer to go for trials for American scholarships. So I thought, oh, I'll go along. I don't really know what I do with my life, so I'll go. I haven't scored a hat trick in the trial, which probably helped me a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
which was probably the first hat trick I scored in a long, long time. And yeah, I got really good feedback, and it was something that I thought, I want to pursue and see where we go. And yeah, I got a lot of offers. I work with Tom Nutter, who kind of has his own kind of scholarship partnership. He does
Hmm.
reaches out to kind of the clubs, and they can watch videos. And I went to a showcase event in Lilleshall here, and a lot of American coaches came down. And Mel Phillips, who was the coach at the time at Bakersfield, she was there and kind of got in touch with me, and from there we kind of agreed, and that's when I kind of went over. And she actually now coaches in England for the London Lionesses. So yeah, it's crazy how that all happened, and yeah, kind of
That's
just went
interesting.
with it. Yeah,
So,
and
so you originally you went. There was a flyer that says, "Hey, come and play," and there's people that might be offering you scholarships to go to U.S. colleges. Is that?
yeah, yeah. It wasn't the biggest thing back then. It's growing more and more over here now, but obviously the women's game here is growing more. So
Hmm.
it's kind of a battle of keeping the best players here now, which is brilliant. But at the time, the kind of the best football and the best opportunities was for me to go to America. And yeah, it was um to say I just went with it, and I thought we'll go and we'll see how it goes. And yeah, I learned a lot.
So,
All I
what
can
were
say.
what, what were some of the other schools that contacted you, and then like did you just go, all right, I'll go? Did you agree to go before you visited California?
Yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, it was a bit of a risk. I think during the time of the kind of recruitment process, there's a kind of a date you have to sign obviously your letter of
Right,
national
right.
letter.
There's like two dates.
Yeah, so
There's like early something. Yeah, there's like two
yeah,
dates. They always make a big deal of the signing period, like who
yeah.
signed, and there's it's still big here.
So I had to ensure I picked a school by then. So we're coming. I think I started the process in like the summer, and I had to kind of make a decision by Christmas. Um, but during
Hmm.
that period, yeah, I think I had about 20, 25 schools
Nice.
contact me. I mean, some you kind of disregard quite quickly because it doesn't fit into obviously your major and what I want to study.
Mhm,
And I wanted to play at D1. I wanted to play at
mhm,
the highest level, so
gotcha.
I kind of just waited out to see what the best offers would be. And I think when Mel and Bakersfield kind of got in contact and we had a Skype or a Zoom call, it kind of just felt like, yeah, this, you just kind of know. And I was like, yeah, this is where I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be looked after. And yeah, my best friends met my best friends in that school, and they're still my best friends today. So I
There you
can't,
go.
yeah, I can't say I made the wrong choice.
There you go.
Um,
The whole process, my, best friend, his daughter is now waiting to hear back from all the schools. So I did a
yeah.
lot of discussion with him as to, okay, make sure you go on tours, make sure she experiences what's there because the kids will tell you, I like this, I don't like
Mhm,
this, until you actually go on campus to have a clue of what are you looking for. First off, like the major has to be available at the school, and every
mhm.
kid has a different thing that they're looking for, or whatever. Is it big, small, rural, urban, suburban? Is it everyone has something that fits
Mhm.
what their niche is for everything. So it's an
Yeah,
interesting process. So that
um,
had your major, and your major is,
I did sports science, so it was kinesiology.
which is
Um,
obviously helps you in your job immensely.
yeah, so, that was what I wanted to definitely study. I think California just sounded really nice as well. I know it was Bakersfield, and it's probably not typical California, but, um, I got to explore a lot of California. I got to explore a lot of the states, and like I said, it was a D1 school,
Mhm.
and Mel at the time, the coach, she made me feel, I was going to be safe there, and she knew a lot about the English culture and had English players out there before, so
Good.
I knew I was going to be okay because I've experienced it before, and that was a few things that I looked at if they had international players. So yeah, there was a lot of conversations, a lot of research,
Mhm.
talking to players there. So yeah, it wasn't just like, yeah, we'll do this. It was a lot of discussions and
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it's
yeah.
a pretty involved process because, especially as an athlete, it's not just, "Okay, I like the school. Do I like the coach? Do I feel
Hmm.
comfortable with the coach? Do I like the facilities? Am I gonna be playing against the level of competition that I
Yeah.
want?" There's a lot that goes into it. The recruiting process is constant here
Yeah,
with,
I learned a lot. Yeah, some of it I was like they're recruiting like 2 3 years in advance. I'm like, God, like
Oh, yeah.
how do you know what that player will be like in 2 3 years? That's what blows my mind.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's some of the kids here, especially, let's say, women's lacrosse. Women's lacrosse is very big. It's gotten bigger in the United States now, because of Title IX. But this, where I am, this area, there's a lot of really good women's lacrosse players, and
Hmm.
some of them by the sophomore year are already obligated. The schools, the ones that are really, really top notch. You'll
Yeah,
see the local paper, the Baltimore Sun, will list, okay, lacrosse, the Baltimore area lacrosse team of the year, have, you know, coach of the year, player of the year, have, little bios. And I'm always looking, who's going to Maryland? I'm always looking to see like what schools they're going to. And sometimes it's sophomore. Let's say you were playing sophomore, Megan Todd, sophomore from whatever East Side High, which is fake here, but that's, and I have the stats. Megan is, has already Megan intends to go to this college or whatever. Sometimes like, whoa, some of them really
yeah.
sign up very early and they're recruited very early and they're
Hmm.
locked in. And every once in a while, you'll also have like family legacies, sisters and brothers
Yeah,
and stuff where they're familiar. It's like, oh yeah, your older sister went, you're gonna come too, right?
yeah,
Sometimes it becomes like a mini package deal. So they made you feel comfortable out there, which is, kind of interesting. The dorms, what are they? were they very different from what you expected or what you have?
So I didn't actually ever stay in dorms.
Really?
We were given apartments. Um,
Oh.
yeah, so I never had to experience that. The coach liked the players to be in apartments with their new freshmen. Um, I don't think the dorms were very nice at the time I was there. So
Mhm.
we lived on an apartment complex literally just round down the road from the university. And there was just yeah, it was good. I'm happy because the apartments were quite nice.
That's really
And
interesting. So the school paid for the apartment?
yeah, yeah.
Wow,
So
that is not what I expected. I
yeah,
expected
so
I expected you to say, "Oh, the dorms are that." I didn't because I would expect, okay, the dorm, I had, one roommate or two roommates, and we had to walk down the hall to the bathroom, and
yeah, no, I
so you
never
had your
had
own
that, which
apartment.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's like 2 or 3 of us in an apartment, which were all
Mhm.
freshmen, and then she chose where people would go, in what apartment together, and then obviously from there you can then obviously pick your own roommates. So we stayed in that apartment complex, but obviously I moved in with my friends who I made during that time.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's
So
very
yeah, it was nice. I'm happy I was in an apartment.
Did you have s so did you have to get your own food, or was it a meal plan? Like, how did the food work?
Yeah, we had to do our own food, and then see there was food after games and sometimes after training, so a mix of depending what's going on. Um, but yeah, luckily I could kinda cook, so I think I had to help a few others.
That's really interesting because the
Mm.
as you know, but most it's so the dorms were not great at the schools? I mean, I don't.
No, at the time they were quite old and dingy. I know now that they've built brand new ones, so they probably
Mhm.
do put them in there now, but I think at the time they weren't great. So yeah, she didn't want I don't think many athletes stayed in the dorms. There was quite a lot of apartment complexes around the university, which a lot of athletes stayed in.
Interesting, yeah, 'cause I'm just so used to the athletes staying in the dorm, and then
Mm,
sometimes they'll, go elsewhere. Like, my son at Maryland, he was in the dorms for 2 years, and then the last 2 years, he was in an on-campus apartment. So, he had three roommates. They fluctuated and stuff depending on the years and stuff. The apartments were, um, university owned, privately run. So they were on you know the grounds of the University of Maryland. But when the rental check didn't go to the University of Maryland, it went to the company running it. So that's what they did.
okay.
And freshmen didn't live in the apartments, but and also not everyone, most people live in the dorms. Not everyone lives in the dorms. Some people, just don't. And then there's plenty of apartments that are being built. But there's also meal
Yeah.
plans and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it's an interesting experience. Myself, I lived in a dorm for 1 year. I lived in
Mm.
a fraternity house for 2.5 years, and then an apartment for a year and a half. Engineering's a 5-year program.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my degree. So I did all this. That's really um, quite interesting. All right, we're over an hour here, so you okay to still talk for a little bit?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. And because Megan and I beforehand, it's about 45 minutes to an hour, and I realized, oh, we're already at an hour because it's later for you. For me, it's on the East Coast here. All right, differences between the USA and England. I have a lot of bullet points here, so we'll just go down. So level competition you faced, playing in the Cal State teams versus what you're facing now.
Yeah, I think the competition surprised me because I thought I'd be okay quite quickly, but I actually quite quickly realised these girls are actually very good. um, I think the biggest thing was they were athletes, which is something we probably lacked back, when I went out there. Um, so yeah, fitness wise and all of the other stuff off the pitch, I had to catch up because,
Hmm.
like I said to you, we train once a week, and I still did that back then. Um, so that was very different. So yeah, I think it just took me surprise. Like, oh yeah, everyone's really good here. I've really got to step my game up. So yeah, I've faced some very good teams and some very good players, and played alongside some really good players as well. Yeah, it was it was really good to see. Um, but yeah, I had to step my game up quite quickly.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
do you attribute that to um, in the U.S. where the girls have more experience to playing lots of sports year round, and
yeah,
and
I think
the, and they're not nor I mean, if they wind up playing, you know, soccer in the U.S. schools, it's very rare for them to, let's say, at 5 years old, you know, be part of a local soccer team. Because where I am, there's two pretty big privately run
mhm.
ones that have like the little club teams, and then you don't really have any organized leagues until you get to high school, until you get to ninth grade around here. So all of them are, you know, the two organizations, and there's a lot of them that play, but there's lots of other opportunities for, the girls and women to do whatever, all the various different sports that are there. So you think that was to their advantage, that they weren't just focused on, soccer slash football, that they played all these other sports?
Yeah, I think in the I kind of put it in this perspective is that in America, sport can get you a degree and get you to university, um, and it can get you paid to do it.
Hmm.
Well, I think here it's a bit of a different mindset that we don't really have that kind of US university college system here, where sports are so big in universities. So I think it's that mindset. If you're playing sport at 10, 11, and you're good, you're going to be pushed to be good at that sport because you're going to get a good scholarship, because you're going to go
Hmm.
to a good, where
Right.
it's not like that here as much. Um, Hence why I think, it's a bit more like we train and play. But I think the more the game's progressed here is that side's now catching up in terms of doing more off the pitch, the fitness and all of that, because it's leading to bigger opportunities because there's more happening here
Hmm.
now. Yeah.
Right. So my understanding is that the school system there, and it always freaked me out as younger. So the private schools and the private schools and public school terminology here is different than over in England. It's reversed.
Yeah, I
So
think
you went to the schools you went to were public schools.
yeah, I went to
Okay.
public schools, yeah.
Okay. A private school would be Pepperdine. Okay, as
Oh,
a
yeah, yeah.
California school, or USC. These are the ones that are run as part of some state, you know, Cal State University of name of,
Mhm.
state. That's the public, and the private
Yeah.
schools. So in England, it's different. The high school. So the public schools are the ones that you pay to attend, and the private schools are the ones that your taxes or whatever
Oh, okay,
pay to
yeah.
run the school. So that always, was sort of interesting. But my understanding was that the teams, the high schools aren't playing each other in sports. Is that true?
Sorry, you cut out a little bit then, you'll have to say
Okay,
that again.
that's okay. Um, my understanding was that in England, the you don't have teams for the high schools playing each other. Is that true?
Yeah, there is teams that play each other in high school, but it's not as it's grown more in high
Hmm.
schools. I mean, when I was in high school, we could barely get a girls' football team together. So now it's easier because more girls are playing sports. So yeah, that part is growing. When I was playing in high school, I mean, I had to go and try and get girls just to come and join the team so we could get a match.
So you had, 11 or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
pretty much.
they had 11. Yeah, here it's much bigger. Even when I went to school back in the hinterlands, there wasn't. I don't remember any school ever not having enough people to play.
Mm,
Although, for American football, there was a couple schools in our county that decided not to play for 1 year. Like two schools decided they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough players, and they were losing so badly. They said we're just not going to play because we don't have enough. And when we do play, we're concerned about the health of the kids, the health,
mm,
both physically and mentally. Because if you're playing, you barely have enough to field a team, and you're getting clobbered. No one wants to be part of that. You want to be part of, oh, come out and play. Why? You guys get clobbered every week. I don't want to be part of that's embarrassing. So it's hard to
mm,
sometimes get people to join um, certain teams, but that's an interesting, perspective that sometimes it was hard to do that. So that probably helps the fact that they're always competing, at the high school level,
mhm.
and then all these other private clubs like Taylor Twellman, who went to University of Maryland, and he's on like ESPN and stuff. He's always complaining about the pay to play culture that the U.S. has with soccer.
Mm,
So when the kids become better, then they're part of like travel teams and stuff like that. And
okay.
I would see some of that before the pandemic. If you were like at a local restaurant or a mall, you would see the teams of the girls. But girls soccer seemed more prevalent than the boys. Teams of girls soccer players all eating, and then the moms with them. And then you go, oh, you're in town for a tournament. They do it over holidays. Some of the big holidays that have a holiday tournament. And then I go, oh, where are you from? How did you do? Good luck.
Mhm.
And that was a big thing. The travel teams of the wherever they were from, they would all come and play, like a 3-day tournament.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. So the level of competition was, seemingly, so you thought it was much higher in the U.S. than
Mhm.
what the equivalent age. Yeah, that's interesting. Stadiums. So the average college stadium compared to where you play, what's the difference?
Oh, America stadiums were so much better. Yeah, bigger, a lot more crowd. So yeah, stadiums were much better to play in.
How many of the stadiums you played in were um, soccer specific versus
Mm,
all right, there's
there's
track
quite a
here
few.
and
Yeah,
there's
there's quite a few. I think I played at Stanford. That was really good.
lots of
Um,
money at Stanford. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Um,
Stanford's, go ahead, and then I'll ask you
Just
what
trying to
your.
think. Cal Poly. That was a really nice place to go. Yeah. So a
Mhm.
few big stadiums, definitely. Oh, we played at can't we forgot this one. We played at LA Galaxy. We played at the Stub. That was really
Nice.
good. That was cool.
That's
Yeah.
nice. So was that the biggest stadium you played at?
Yeah.
LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
The Stanford. So what do you know about Stanford as far as
It's one of the top schools in that I is it not Ivy League? I don't know. Yeah.
it's an Ivy League wannabe.
Yeah,
An
it's
Ivy League wannabe. Yeah. It's an Ivy League quality school.
mhm,
As far as Stanford, Northwestern, north of Chicago, um, uh, the school who is 9 miles away from North Carolina, named after a tobacco heiress whose name I won't pronounce, but it rhymes with puke. They think that they're very highly
okay.
um, up there. So there's some schools that are very good academically, but Stanford's really interesting because it's a private school, and Stanford's athletic teams do really well. I think it's called the College Cup. Were you
Mhm.
familiar with that? Where
Yeah.
you get points for how you did in all different sports.
Mhm.
They're always in the top 2 or 3 for the College Cup because they're just not recruiting in several sports. They're recruiting in every sport.
Yeah.
they compete in, and they want to be really good in every sport they compete in.
Mhm.
So, I give them a lot of credit for, having that. So it's interesting you played at Stanford. I've seen pictures. It seems like it's a really pretty place.
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah, it was one of the nicest areas we went to.
Now, when you went on the campus, did you get the opportunity to tour many of the campuses, or did you just go, all right, here we go, here's a stadium? Like, how much
Not
did you
so
see?
not too much. Obviously, we do trips and stuff, and that's when we had the opportunity to kind of explore a bit more. But you know, it's tough because you travel quite quick, if that makes sense. You play your game and then you're off to the next place. So some areas we did, and then yeah, some we didn't really get to see too much.
Okay. Did they normally put you in like Hampton Inns or places like
Yeah, we
what
hotels. Yeah,
hotels, but not
yeah,
fancy, more like,
they're okay.
two-story
Yeah,
hotels?
they're okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
some were nicer than others, but yeah,
Sure. Because of the budget. How did you normally travel? Was it by bus or did you fly every once in a while?
a bit of both. Yeah, we'd fly or yeah, bus. So yeah, it depends on how far the journey was and where we had to go. But yeah,
Where was the furthest that you went to play?
I think Texas. Don't know if Texas was far. Uh,
Really?
yeah,
What school or schools did you play there?
we went to play. Well, we were in San Antonio, but I can't remember the score off the top of my head. But that was a cool place to go.
San
Um,
Ant- the only school I know that's is UT San Antonio, University of Texas San Antonio.
yeah, I think it was that school.
Okay.
There was a
Yeah.
few. Some all sound the same sometimes. So yeah, yeah, we played out there. So that was cool. Yeah, we travelled a bit. So yeah.
Yeah, San Antonio is pretty cool. I don't know if you got a chance to go to the what's called the River Walk in San
Mhm.
Antonio. That's really a very interesting place
Oh,
where
cool.
there's lots of it's actually a river runs through it, so all the bars and restaurants and shopping, that's sort of like the retail and fun part of San Antonio, and the Alamo's like there.
Yeah.
I remember when I was only in San Antonio once, and I went. It was a conference dealing with um, fuels, because I do a lot of stuff with the vehicles. And okay, my hotel was connected to a mall, and then you leave the mall, and I'm like, okay, I got to go to another hotel, and they're like, whoa, the Alamo's like there. I was just surprised it was
Mm.
right there in the heart of sort of downtown, that it wasn't sort of isolated. Like, oh, I want to go visit the Alamo. Where is it? Oh, it was just like there. So it was kind of surprising that something that historic was right just there. And
Mhm.
one where didn't, I should have like toured it, and I didn't get to do it. I was just surprised that it was so close to a shopping mall that it didn't have a protective zone.
Yeah.
And that sort of reminds me, I visited Graceland, where Elvis Presley's home, and you know who Elvis.
Mhm.
Okay, so you see the pictures of this big palatial estate with the red brick and whatever, and you think it's sort of out in the country. It's not. It's on a busy commercial street, and to the left of the main gate for Graceland's like a tire, tire store, a Firestone or a Goodyear or something like that. It's like, this is really kind of strange. Okay, so
Mm.
Texas, the furthest you went to. Interesting. So there was lots of fans. Were
Yeah.
there? Yeah, most of them were.
Yeah, we
Oh,
just had a good turnout. So yeah, we're pretty good fans, definitely. Um, they follow it a bit more, I'd say, in the US and probably here. So yeah, played getting some good crowds. So yeah, it was all good.
cool, cool. So travel. All right. Food. You already sort of mentioned like what's the I have favorite food you're supposed to California, and then I have favorite burger chain. There's a big thing of like which burger chain. I'm not talking McDonald's. I'm talking the ones where you order and then you have to wait for them to make the food.
Um, I tell you now, it's an easy one for me. In and out. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, my absolute favorite. When I go visit, that's where I go first.
There you go. That seems to be the favorite of a lot of people. I've never
Yeah,
been in an
very
In-N-Out
good. Yeah,
burger. I
yeah.
think there was one in Albuquerque. God, I don't even remember what it was. I don't know if it was an In-N-Out or something,
Mm,
but I
yeah, best burger, definitely.
yes, that's a Wagga.
Yeah,
We have, Shake Shacks here,
mhm,
yeah,
yeah,
which is that's like yeah, but that's so other than the breakfast, the burrito, any other type of foods that you were introduced to, you go, "Wow, this is really good. I've never had this before."
Mexican food,
Mhm.
a lot of Mexican food, um, just in restaurants or, um, uh, like I said, a couple of my friends were Mexican, so I'd have homemade cooking, yeah. I think also sushi, that's when I started to like sushi, was out in California. Yeah.
Was that
So
weird? It's like, "Oh, what is this?" "Well, it's uncooked fish, and we're going to wrap it up in rice. Go
yeah,
ahead, eat it. You'll be fine. You
yeah.
won't die."
It took a
It
little while, but yeah.
yeah, that's I mean, I eat the sushi myself. My wife will only do the California roll, which of course is not really
Mm.
sushi. Um, but it's kind of like, okay, I'm eating what, and this is okay. This is raw. I'm not going to get sick off of this. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. So the sushi, yeah, the Mex. So you said Mexico. Were they actually from
Mhm.
Mexico, or were they
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. So, yeah, had some really traditional Mexican food, which was lovely. Yeah, really nice.
Because obviously, California has a huge,
Mm,
Latino population.
yeah, which I didn't know, but yeah, I learnt a lot about different cultures and different foods really, so that was quite cool.
Cool.
Yeah, really cool.
Awesome. All right, here we go. Now, anything else that you found really interesting, weird, funny between U.S. and in England? It's like, whoa, this is different. This is weird. I didn't expect this.
I think interesting, funny. I think the spellings of different words, but they're the same word, like colour.
Oh, the add you or not add the you?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think when I took my English class, obviously I write I wrote in the way that I got like a really bad grade and I was like, well, this is right. I mean, I got so many spelling errors, but obviously to me, that's how
Hmm.
you spell the word. So there I had
Right.
to kind of adjust that. Sometimes I still have a bit of moments now where I'm like, wait, is that a Z or with an S? So yeah. Yeah, that confuses me sometimes still. Yeah, but that was probably one of the things that I found kind of funny weird because it's the same language, but we obviously write it in different ways.
Right. And lots of different words. Any of the words and the phrases that were used that you said, what on earth are you talking about?
Mm, not not as much. I think it's just I had to adjust what I was then saying, so I then had to train myself to say that. And
Hmm.
sometimes it still randomly slips out now, the odd words, where like when I come back from the States, I had a really weird American twang, but I was obviously English. So yeah, that that was weird that that happened. I didn't think I would pick up the accent, but yeah, I did.
Um, I'm not surprised if you're in one place for a while, you
Yeah.
start talking to
Mhm.
people. For example, I already told you where I'm from, but if I didn't tell you, what part of the country do you think I'm from?
See, to me, everyone sounds well, except from if you're south, that's a very different accent. But for me, then the majority of you guys all sound the same. Um,
That's
but
quite funny
yeah,
because there's so many regional accents.
yeah, there is.
There's so many regional accents in the US, and learned there's so many regional accents in England.
Mm, yeah,
So so many
there is.
regional like
Yeah.
the guy that I told you that I met through my class who's from Suffolk, I wrote and it's like, "Okay, when you do something, I want you to do a Scouser accent." And darn if he did a Scouser accent.
Mm,
This is hysterical. I'm laughing. He says, "Ken, why are you laughing?" Inside joke. He all of a sudden so just the regional the different accents because
yeah.
the what people here think is the prototypical English accent is Cockney. I believe
Mm,
that's what like the
yeah.
Geico, the gecko. the Geico Gecko
Yeah.
speaks in Cockney, but there's so many different, you know, per ways of talking, and, Josh Sargent, who obviously we're big fans of
Mhm.
Josh. I I think someone asked him, "So, what's it like, coming here? What have you been surprised?" It's like, "Well, I find it really hard to understand the Irish and Scottish guys. I have no idea what they're
Mm.
saying, and I speak the same language." And says, "I have an easier time understanding the guys who have English as their second or third language
Yeah.
than guys like Kenny McLean and, Billy
Yeah.
Gilmore." And so I say when Kenny McLean talks, I was like, "What did he say?" I need closed captioning for that. I find it just incredibly hard to
Yeah.
pick up.
It's
Yeah,
very strong.
but I'm not surprised. I remember one time I was up in Toronto for about a week, and then I kept hearing myself with a Canadian accent for about a week and a half.
Yeah.
There's certain words that are just pronounced differently. There was one because we're dealing with natural gas vehicles, and so they had cylinders. So you put
Mm.
the natural gas in a big metal cylinder under pressure. They pronounce it a cylinder,
Yeah.
and I kept hearing myself talk weird, strangely. Wow, what's going on? So most people, if they've never met me, 'cause you being from England, that are picking up on this. Where in New York or New Jersey are you from? I'm not. I'm from Baltimore. But when I went to school, University of Maryland, lots of the people that I met and became friends with are from New York and New Jersey.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I've obviously picked up something in the speech pattern or maybe with how I pronounce things that people always ask, you know,
Mm.
where I am. So anything else that was like, boy, this is, other than some of the obvious things, driving on different sides of the road,
Oh, yeah.
um,
Mm.
there's some terms that are com- completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, was there anything else? I was like, well, this is weird. What's going?
Um, don't really know. I think obviously driving the other side of the road and like we spoke about different football terminology and stuff, but yeah, I think yeah, a lot of it was just adapting my language really, which I found interesting to do.
Now, so you had, excuse me, you had Mexican players. How many other English players did you run into?
A lot of the men's team had a lot of English players.
Hmm.
In the women's team, there was more a couple of girls from Sweden and one from Ireland. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, I know here because it's a Maryland grad. The Maryland men do really well. They've already won
mm,
4 national championship. Zach Steffen, the number 2 goalie for Man City, played at Maryland, and
hmm,
we saw him play in person. I think at least once we saw him play. Uh, they recruit internationally. Some of the
yeah,
players are internationally. So the coach Sasha Shirovsky, who is, and I want to just bringing up. There's a question I want to ask you related to an idea that Sasha had related to American college soccer. Um, he really wants to have his team filled with the best local kids, but he realizes sometimes the best local kids then might be going pro or they're going to different academies. So what he does, he fills in with international
mm,
players. He brings them over. So he'd prefer to have his entire squad be kids that he's recruited from the US
mm,
and not have to fill in with international players. So the international and some of the international players he gets are really good, but his preference is I want local kids, but I can't always do that.
mm,
So I attended a event at Maryland. So he was there, and Anson Dorrance, who's coach of North Carolina women, Mia Hamm and quite a few
hmm,
others play there. He's one of the top women's colleges coaches. They had an event at the University of Maryland's campus, and Sasho. His name is Sasho. I forgot what Eastern European country he's originally from. Um, his thing that he would like to have happen in college soccer is to not have it all based in one semester. He
Okay.
thinks that he thinks that it should be spread into a fall season and a spring season because he feels there's not enough time for him to coach and train his players. He feels there's too much emphasis on playing the games and not enough on improving them and training and teaching. So that was the thing that he's trying to. So I'd like to hear what you think about that idea.
For me, I think it's a mixture. I think you need that time to obviously develop and train them. A lot of
Hmm.
that does come in match play, but yeah, I think also the importance is to also get that other side. So it's a difficult one because that's the one that everyone's trying to perfect. So for me, it's a balance of both, I'd say.
Because he expressed frustration. It's like sometimes we have to play 2 games in a week. I prefer to only play, let's say, one game over the weekend and give us time for training because I have to get them ready for the
Hmm.
game and focus on the game, and I'm not spending as much time as I want to in developing the players, and that was his whole thing. So I really admire. So that's what he's pushing for, and I honestly think he's going to still coach until he gets that. He's going to be keep pushing, pushing, pushing because it's not, hey, this is too hard. It's I'm an educator. I'm a coach. I want to make them better.
Mm,
I'm not making them as good as I want them to be.
mm.
So that was yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone has their own kind of thought
Mhm.
process behind it. For me, I like the mixture. Some people like to just kind of do it in matches. Some like to just do it in training. So yeah, I think what works and kind of the type of players you have and the way they learn, I'd say.
Yeah, just once again, and he's one of the top guys that the team always does well. So they said the best player he's developed is Zach Steffen, but he's got
Mm,
quite a few in the MLS, and some other guys played intern like Maurice Edu, went to Maryland, Taylor Twellman. I'm trying to think, Stuart Holden. God, who else? There's quite a few players on the U.S. men's team too
mm.
that
Yeah.
went. So he's got a nice little program going on, but that was his idea that he's pushing. So I was just curious and mention that. Okay, who are your favorite players, men and women, and then we'll get to the wrap up question.
Um, well, my favourite all-time football player is Thierry Henry, who played for Arsenal. He was one that made me love football, so he is my all-time favourite player. Um, Women's game has kind of grown because it's something I didn't watch as much, but it's grown more and more on me.
Hmm.
I'd say Lucy Bronze for England, one of my
Hmm.
favourite players. Um, Current men's favourite player, that's a big one. Um, I think I really like Phil Foden for Man City.
My
Um,
son would probably agree with that.
yeah,
He's a
I
he's
like
a
the way he plays. So
mhm.
yeah, but for me, no one beats Thierry Henry. He's the best, always will be.
What is does he still have one of the records in the Premier League or something?
I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, he was just a class player that made me love football and who I grew up watching. So
Yeah, you mentioned here, and it reminds me. I used to do pub trivia, and one time there was a guy who was announcing the questions, and he pronounced Thierry Henry on the wrong way. It was
yeah, okay,
Thierry Henry,
yeah,
and I I then asked afterwards someone who put together says, was he instructed to mispronounce the name on purpose? Says, no, he just didn't know. You
yeah,
know, it was like what country is Thierry Henry from? Like, oh, Thierry Henry. I knew
mm,
exactly. Yeah, he's a pretty darn good player. He's on some of the studio shows here every
mm,
once in a while. I'll
yeah,
see him talk. Okay, and the wrap up, and this is a question that we at the podcast going to ask previous podcast guests this question, and then we hope to highlight their questions. We're going to hopefully do this in Twitter. So when we ask them the question, we're going to say, hey, we asked them this question, and here's their answer, and here is their the podcast. The idea is to hopefully have more people listen to the podcast, and also just so we're just trying to build everything. So the question is, who's the most famous person you have met, and what are the circumstances?
Most famous person I've met was Ed Sheeran. Um,
Okay.
I actually met him, had a photo with him before he actually got famous. It was a local gig in my hometown. He
Hmm.
was he was supporting someone else we were actually watching, and yeah, it was weird because he wasn't really known at all. So yeah, that would be the most famous person I've
Cool.
met. Yeah, I've obviously met a lot of ex-footballers, more of like from Norwich and
Hmm.
from Cambridge United. But yeah, I'd probably say Ed Sheeran is the most
Yeah.
famous person I've met.
Interesting. Yeah. Now known as the Ipswich shirt sponsor, but
Yeah,
and he was on one episode of Game of Thrones. There you go.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
the point of this question is, okay, who's the most famous sort of thing? Because I've met a lot of people, and I
Mhm.
had to think, who have I met that I actually talked to,
Yeah.
and more than just like a glancing. So
Mm.
the most famous person that I've actually been, within 5 feet of and had personal physical contact with was Barack Obama when he was president,
Oh, cool.
but I didn't talk to
Oh,
him.
yeah.
It was a handshake line at an event. So that's not my answer. My answer is John Kerry,
Okay.
who, okay, was the US Senator, ran for president, then became the Secretary of State.
Mhm.
So that's probably, better known than some of the sports people that I've run into. Now, the wealthiest person that I've met and talked to is T. Boone Pickens,
Mhm.
who you probably know who T. Boone for being in the U.S. He's a big natural gas guy, and I think he passed away. But the stadium where Oklahoma State plays is named for him. So when I was doing
Okay.
stuff with alternative fuels, I talked to him for an extended period of time.
Mhm.
The John Kerry conversation was, as some of my weird conversations are, in a men's room, washing hands.
Mhm.
He was hosting a congressional hearing on an issue that I was working on, and he had to leave the hearing to go to vote on the Senate floor. And I just happened, all right, I'm go to the bathroom, waiting for him to come back, and all of a sudden, oh, hi, Senator Kerry, how are you? It's how did the vote go? And you
Yeah.
know, whatever it was. I don't know if I introduced him, so it would be you know,
Yeah.
John Kerry, but a variety of different people, and and sporting things, and
Mhm.
other people who were journalists. But for international, someone that ran for president and then was a Secretary of State. That's probably, um, yeah, my
Yeah.
answer. But Ed Sheeran, yeah, people.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good answer. So this is the question. So we're asking previous podcast guests what their answer is.
Mhm.
I don't know if we're going to have them write it up and I'll take a screenshot and post it, or if we're going to have them do like a quick little video
Okay.
and say who it is. And the idea is to get more people to check out their past episodes, because
Yeah.
we've had a variety of different people.
Mhm.
Before we had uh, last week we had Stuart Hodge,
Mhm.
who, do you know who he is?
Don't know
Okay,
too much. Yeah.
he's got it's called Hodge on Nodge. He's got the
Okay.
Scottish accent. So now he is doing and the Sky Sports NBA writer. But he
Okay.
did, when Norwich was in the championship the year that they got promoted by the Wembley, he was doing the play by play. So now it's Chris
Okay.
Gorham. So he was like
Yeah.
before Chris Gorham. So you hear this. So he was on. We're gonna have him back. That's like part one. We had Connor Southwell,
Yep.
who was, we, we had Connor. Next week we're going to have one half of Talk Norwich City. We're going to
Mhm.
have Chris, and eventually we'll get Jack on the program. But
Nice.
Chris has agreed to come on next week, so that will be
Cool.
really it. The timing was tough. So Chris, if you're listening, thank you so much. I'm glad we'll have him on. So we're going to ask people. Okay, I think this is an interesting thing. And some people have said, well, is it related to Norwich? No, just the most famous person you've met. I anticipate some point in time someone's going to say the Queen or the Pope or
Yeah.
or or something. Mine was, at some point in time someone's going to say that.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any last thoughts, that you want to
No, just yeah.
express?
Like I said, thank you again for kind of supporting us. It's been really
Oh, it's
appreciated.
it's, it's been a pleasure. I'm really glad that, we did that. And I'm really glad that you know, the club is, taking advantage of that. And I'm really glad that it's now everything's going to be integrated. So
Yeah.
hopefully things going to, uh, the development is going to continue on, and you'll get more people at the games. You'll have more money, you know,
Mhm.
more
Yeah.
development. So maybe Alex Moore going to go, oh, before I retire, let me go play for Norwich as opposed, for Tottenham or something. All
Yeah.
right. Well, this will conclude AmeriCanaries podcast number 16 with a very special, very gracious guest, Megan Todd, who
Thank you.
provided a lot of information. I hope everybody learned a lot of stuff. I learned a lot of stuff, and this will be available when you're listening. We recorded it the day before. All right. Thank you very much, and this will end the podcast. And like I said, next week we're going to have Chris Reeve. They're not brothers. They're the Reeve guys, Reeve boys, or whatever. So he will be our podcast guest. And after that, we will figure out what we're doing. So thank you very much, Megan. And this wraps
Thank
this
you.
up.